Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we're in the shop. I have been, I would say, commissioned to build a table, which is cool because that's really my end game. I really want to build tables. So this one is a different kind of table, something I haven't seen other than, like, table construction is fine. It's just whatever. So I bought some walnut off a guy, 40 bucks. I got an entire van full. I'll show you some pictures here maybe. It was full. He contacted me probably a couple weeks later. It's like, because I showed him some pictures of what I'm doing with epoxy tables. He comes back, he's like, I have more. I have another trailer full of walnut. If you would build me a coffee table. I'll say. So he gave me specifications, 2x4. Right now I'm at 22.5 by 47.5. So I'm close. I'm not going to be 2x4, but whatever. The kicker is, in this table, he wants more my epoxy work more than the woodworking side. He doesn't care what the species of wood's going to be as far as his table. But in the tabletop itself, there are going to be baseball cards. He's a sports fanatic. There's going to be baseball cards epoxied into the tabletop. So you epoxy it in. So you epoxy the card, you epoxy it down, and then you do a flood coat over all of it. That's essentially what's going to happen. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I found, well, I haven't found, this is where I work. I get these big chunks of lumber quite often, and most of it's poplar, which is fine. Poplar's pretty stable. So I sliced it up, and unfortunately it was wet. It was probably in the 30s, so I had to let it sit for quite some time. It is now around 14, so I'm going to join two pieces together. So essentially I'm taking the table, slicing it in half. Well, actually it's in 4 pieces, because these are only 6 inches, as you can tell. So I have 4 different pieces. Right now I'm at the point where I'm going to join them together, and I joined them with, I would say a domino, but it's not a domino. These are my dominoes, I guess. So they're essentially the same things. I put little grooves on them, so that way glue can actually adhere to it. So if you have a really tight fit, glue will get into the grooves and hold it. So I have a system. Essentially you put the wood on here. These comes forward, goes back and forth, comes back out. It's hard to come back out right now. There it is. So I use, whoa, Jesus. That's the way they look. That's my little joining system. It doesn't cost me $2,200. I do want a domino, but right now, this will work. So I'm gonna glue them up and go from there. All right, so this is what the main table is gonna look like. I still have, I'm gonna use these as breadboard ends, like so, to keep it somewhat stable. This is still dunnage lumber, and it took a little bit of while. It took a while to get it to dry, but I've got it down to about 10%. I have dominoes, as you can see. So it's going to be an initial glue up. Ends are on. Now I'm to the point. It's flat. So I ran it through my drum sander. She's flat. I'm going to. I got to nip off the ends of the breadboards. They're just a hair too long. After that, I'm going to run it through my table saw on a tilt. So I usually probably do about a 10-degree tilt. All depends on the table. 10 degrees usually what I do. Put a little bevel on the bottom, Once I get that, then it's sanding. And it shouldn't take too long with this, especially with this bad boy. So I've been using this for a little bit and absolutely love it. So this shouldn't take too long to bring it to, I'm probably gonna go 240, and then it's going dark stain. So exciting. I will show you the results when I get it there. So this is the end result color that I chose. It is what they call a hazelnut. It is, I don't know if you can see that, Gemini Craftsman hazelnut. First time using this stuff, and so far so good. Turned out really well. Okay, so this is the next step of this table journey, and it's building the little form, because once I get this formed and sucked in and silicone, or not silicone, but caulked into the table itself, I'm going to do a brush coat of epoxy to seal it, or so seal coat maybe. I'm going to seal coat the entire top, and at the same time I'm going to try to seal coat whatever I can on the edges, so that way when I when I do the flood coat, I won't have any leaks. So then I'll be ready after that for the cards, and the cards will just be placed wherever the customer wants it. Each card is going to have to be epoxy sealed, sanded, and then I will most likely either epoxy them down or hot glue them down, one of the two. So this is what the layout looks like. They're all epoxied down. They're all scuffed. It's all ready to go. I'm just going through and doing the final clean. This sort of thing kind of stresses me out because I haven't poured clear yet. I poured black and it was fine with black, but I've never poured clear. So, a little nerve-wracking. But, so key thing, this form is hopefully tight, watertight. It's caulked, it was squeezed, and then it was squeezed with caulking and screwed together, and then the underneath was all caulked up, so it should be waterproof. Key notes for pouring clear epoxy: nice clean bucket, nothing in it. That's the probably most stressful part of it, is keeping everything clean. And the epoxy I'm using is slow casting from Magic. So this is what I'm using. This is from Magic Resin. Like I said, I haven't poured the clear version. I'm hoping that it turns out well, because if not, all these cards will be in it. So I'll show you. Oh yeah, so this one is a 2.7 to 1 ratio, but what I have left over is just dump in a bucket sort of deal, because I've already had a two pours. I'll show you a little bit of the epoxy. It's probably going to go about 1/4 inch tall, so I'm hoping I have enough for that. I don't want to mix more of it, and that's about it. Yeah, so let's get. So this is what it looks like. I don't know why it's not. Come on. This is what it looks like. The epoxy is in. You will see more of this in the coming little bit, but I did have a problem. So this is the underside. This was caulked. Everything was good to go. I had a leak right here. So there was one right here, and there was another one right here. There was a shim that was leveling the table off that was underneath it. It wasn't a huge leak, so I tuck taped it, and that mitigated it. I lost very little bit, but what I did leak stuck the shim to the table, and when I pulled the shim off, I tried very gingerly, it pulled some of this, so I'm gonna have to epoxy this and fix it. But now it's the point of taking all this caulking, trying to cut the epoxy without destroying more of the table. So take the forms off and then it's finishing time. Okay, so form is off, which is good. It took me a little bit of time. As you can see, probably right here is where one of the leaks started. Not a lot of caulking there. And then I think another one here, because I pretty much had the chip from here all the way to the corner and then a little bit past here to release the mold without destroying the rest of the table. If I didn't use this caulking on the top, I would have lost the whole thing, because you can see epoxy got all the way through, and it's this caulking that's the only thing that stopped it. So now it's off to finishing. So this is what it looks like after gone through the drum sander, flattened as best it can. Very, very hazy. That's okay. Now it's sanding. Chamfering these holes, the little bit like this, or even a very big drill bit, will help these little inserts not break away any more wood. It's gonna get covered anyway, so it's whatever. Now, these will accept 1/4-20 screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them. These are, what are they? 15 mil deep. I didn't want to go too deep. They're just, I got 5 of them. So, trick is to make sure that they're straight as can be. That'll help you for when you put the legs on. You don't have to fight too bad. So I just kind of put one thread in, see where it stands, and then kind of put it in from there. I'm not going to show you putting them all in because that's just boring, but this is one, and this one's a little bit out, but not bad. And that's how you put them in. I'm also going to pull them back out and put PL in there, so that way they stay in there. Some people put epoxy, some people, it's whatever you want. So I'm just going to put all these in and then put the legs on. So this is the kind of leg that the client wanted. It's a hairpin leg. It's got 5 inserts, so it's got plenty. These are the bolts or the screws I'm going to be using, and they're pretty big as far as the hole. So do yourself a favor, take these holes and open them up a little bit so you don't have to fight with these screws lining them all up. Even though they were lined up as far as the holes, when you screw these in, sometimes they kind of walk one way or the other. So open these up a little bit, Save yourself some grief. As you can see, the table is now complete. I did the legs last night. You've already seen that part of the video. It was interesting. I've never done an inset where you pour stuff into stuff, so that was cool. I think it turned out really well. For the sanding process, I didn't film it because sanding is just bloody boring. But I went up through the grits. I flattened it on my drum sander, and then I went from 80 to 180. So 80, 100, 120, 180. And at that point, it was looking really good. So I lacquered it. This is spray lacquer. I need to do one more thing, because delivery is tomorrow on this, is to take a brown paper bag and knock off all the dust little bunnies that set in on the lacquer. Yeah, this has 5 coats of spray lacquer on it. So in between coats, even though the can says doesn't need the sand, I still did. So the first coat was 120, and then all the previous coats after that were 600. And the brown paper bag is supposed to be like 1,000-ish. But in between each coat, I sanded, lacquered, different directions, all that fun stuff. Yeah, I think it turned out really well for a first build for a table like this. There will be more. I have other plans in my head, in the works. So if you like this video, well, number one, if you made it to the end of this video, kudos on you, because it's probably going to be a long one. Yeah, you can make anything into anything. So this was, the wood was dunnage that I sliced up and fitted and dominoed, and it's good. I like it. I think the customer will really like it, and hopefully he will take care of it. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and there will be more of these projects coming. Well, maybe not inset of these, but more different projects. Epoxy. I like dealing with epoxy. So, hope everyone's good. I'll see you next time.